Anca, Trifan.
Thank you, thank you. I think I'm good. Appreciate that. Thank you. Bring my own stuff. Well, I get myself situated over here because I've got my slides that I'm going to be running. You know, when you put on a presentation on AI, you have to bring your own slides that are also made by AI. So we're going to introduce you to something new. But before I do that, I just wanted to give a shout out to Mark, Aaron, James, everyone that's so helpful putting on this conference. I know I'm forgetting some names, so forgive me. And also our behind the scenes teams, Jason, Dan, weren't they amazing? I mean, the sound in this room is great. So gotta give it up to them. And with that, it's time to get into our presentation today. Now, I want to set the stage a little bit because this is not going to be my regular tactical. I'm going to show you a gazillion of tools, and we're just going to run through them. I have about 70 workshops on YouTube on that. So if you really want to get tactical beyond ChatGPT, I've got resources. What I want to focus on today is how can AI help us make more money, basically. How can we be more productive, more efficient, use some of the tools that we have? But this is going to be beyond just using ChatGPT or using Copilot or Gemini, Perplexity, whatever your favorite LLM is out there. So I'll be in between slides, my computer, I'm going to show you a few things. We're going to get interactive, okay? So you're going to get that phone out, you're going to scan some QR codes. I want to learn from you as much as you want to learn from me. So that's the plan. Anyone good with that? Well, it sounds like, well, we got no choice. So. All right, so let's see, make sure that we are advancing properly. There you go. And here's something fun that I want to touch on because I love surveys, I love reports, and Gallup and McKinsey just came up with 2 different reports and research for the state of AI in 2025. And while 99% of Americans have used AI-powered products one way or another, what's very interesting is that only 65% realize it. Because AI sometimes doesn't necessarily look like a chatbot or some kind of a robot assistant that will organize your day. And according to Gallup, so that's the Gallup research, and then McKinsey came up with their own research, and what they said is that while all of that is great, 90% of the companies and where the money is going when it comes to AI investments, especially for the next 3 years, 92% of the companies, they really want to go hard on AI. However, only 1% of those companies are really considering themselves mature, as in they know what they're doing. So there's a huge discrepancy, right, between where we are, where we want to be, and where we actually are recently. So what's interesting about this hesitation, it's not necessarily about resistance as much as perception. And sometimes we don't really realize the significance of something that we step into until we look back, right? Hindsight 2020, or is it 2020 or 20? Yeah, I guess I'm making that up. But you know what I mean. It's like hindsight 2020 is a real thing. So that being said, it reminds me of a story. Is it okay if I share a story with you all? Yeah, okay. Well, guess what? So this is my first time in New England, and I'm currently living in Boise, Idaho. Yes, it was a while to get here, uneventful. But originally, I'm from Romania, and I moved to the US 22 years ago. And when I was 12, somehow I got a hold of this postcard, which was the Statue of Liberty. And before I knew what a vision board is, I glued it onto my mirror because this was what I wanted to get to. That was kind of my dream. And, you know, there's a lot of symbolism attached with the Statue of Liberty. For me, it was something that was bigger than myself, something that I wanted to achieve, something that, especially coming from a communist country, it's freedom, it's opportunity, is everything that you dream of that's possible that the constraints of your situation doesn't allow you to. So fast forward, 22 years later, I moved to US, and when I first got to US, I flew into JFK, and I saw the Statue of Liberty from the airplane through the clouds, and it was magnificent. It was just one of those things that was just so surreal. And then fast forward 22 years later, guess what? I haven't yet got to see the Statue of Liberty in person. 198 miles. That's how close I am to it. And here we are again and again. I feel like I'm so close and yet so far, because I've come to the East Coast so many times, and anywhere from Boston to Washington, Florida, wherever, just not there. So that story, the reason why I wanted to highlight it is because it kind of ties into this report of how AI has been right in the front for many years. Machine learning has been around for many years. This is not news. And yet, here we are, questioning whether or not it's something that we should embrace, or whether or not we should use its full potential. So why does that matter to us event professionals? Is because it's definitely, fundamentally reshaping how we plan, how we market, how we source, how we work, how we optimize our events. And there's a lot of tools that are available to us if we allow ourselves to be curious and learn about it. So while all of that is great, to fully understand the impact, we have to look at it a bit at the bad, the good, and the future. And the bad is that the AI adoption is challenging because many in our industry do rely very much on manual processes. How many of you are still working hard on spreadsheets? And how much data entry is that? And how much error sometimes comes with it? And then there's the traditional sourcing. And then there's the manual personalization of how we try to tag people so we can match make them. Where is the AI doing the work for us, right? So there's a lot of work that goes into that and a lot of inconsistency with the data insights that we get. Now, the good thing is AI is already at work reshaping how forecast demand works, how optimized pricing works, how personalization works. And I know Mike had a great session on networking yesterday. So if you didn't make it, just know that maybe you should go back. Is there a recording? Maybe not. Okay, I took notes. So go back to my LinkedIn profile, and I actually broke it down because AI, great session on networking, but really what we're going to touch on today is the next level. How does AI help networking and personalization and the matchmaking that we're looking for? And then the future, really, AI is the future as much as we like it or not, or as much as we're afraid of. And it will help us, and it has helped actually a lot of event planners that I get to work with in how they are going after sponsorships, after attendee targeting, supplier ROI, prospecting, adjusting pricing dynamically, and all the things that we would hope that a tool like this would help us with. Now, the introduction over there that I skipped, it's actually here. So what do I know about all of this? If we haven't met yet, and I really, I try to meet as many of you as possible. I'm Anca Trifan. I've been in the event industry for 20-something years, and I lived at the intersection of AV production, event technology, and AI integration. And in my current role right now, I focus on strategic partnerships when it comes to AI, when it comes to technology, and how can we enhance our processes and elevate our event experiences. Previously to that, I actually founded and owned my own production company, Trifan Events, that has been specializing in AV production and AI-driven event solutions. And I wanted to highlight something here because were you here when Joanne gave a presentation on inclusivity and belonging? That was amazing. Well done, Joanne. Now, what I wanted to highlight is the fact that as a woman in AV production and owning an AV production company, I can tell you how important it is for us to use inclusive language, especially when we address the AV team in the back. And I see so many presenters, and I cringe every time when they go and they say, AV guys, and AV guys here, and AV guys there. Well, there's a lot of women behind the scenes as well. And by the choice of our language, we make this field, this niche, welcoming to other women that would love to be behind the scenes, but we have to acknowledge that it's not just one type of people that fits that role. So thank you, Joanne, for bringing that up, and just wanted to highlight it because it's a big part of my DNA, and also I'm very passionate about it. I also get to talk about it on my own stage, which is Events Demystified podcast. So I get to say a lot of things about that just because I have a history in that field. And if you haven't tuned into the podcast, now that I mention it, it's one of the top listened podcasts in the industry. And what I do really, I demystify not just AV production and advocating for women in AV, but also anything that's related to technology, AI integration, leadership. My next episode actually is featuring Karina Bauer, the CEO of IMAX, and that will come out on Friday. So if you're curious to know how IMAX does sustainability and what their culture is, tune into that. All right, so that being said, I spent enough time on this. Here's what we're gonna do. And I have to give you a little disclaimer, because today's session is gonna be part fire and part fire hose, which means we're gonna go fast through this. And some of those things you might have to take a minute and review. Now, if you were me, you would use an app called Meet Geek to actually record the conversation and transcribe it for you, and then give you the key takeaways, so that next time you think about, oh, what was she talking about? Because I don't remember, because it was like par fire and par fires. Guess what? You can go back and review those notes. So what we're going to cover today is we're going to look at AI beyond the buzzword. Then we're going to look at how AI can help us. And I really tried intentionally to position the stock to hit a few different personas, right? We have planners here, we have suppliers, we have venues, we have DMCs and CBO. Oh gosh, I can't say that. You get it. There's a lot of different of us with different roles. So I'm gonna try to speak to each. If for some reason I don't touch on your role, just know that I'm still thinking of you. Okay, and then the last question is gonna be the one question that a lot of us are asking, even if we're not saying it out loud. Can I trust AI, especially when it comes to ethical considerations and best practices and compliance? So that is what we're gonna do today. You all good? Yeah. Okay, I'm not gonna make you stand up, maybe I will, I don't know, but really, I usually during my talks, I do get people to stand up and do a little bit of shaking. So we'll see if that's going to happen or not, at least to shake yourselves from like sitting down if you're able and capable. I know sitting on a chair for more than like 20 minutes, it's not for me. I have a walking pad at home and I'm like, I gotta go. I can't be on. So that's why I'm like moving so much. All right, so why does everything that I just said regarding AI matters to event professionals? Because like I alluded to, AI is already influencing how we plan events, but especially how we generate revenue and how we maximize event impact. And that is where monetizing what we do and making sure that there's an ROI associated with the processes that we have, it's important. And AI can be that powerful tool that we can employ. And a few areas in which it's already making an impact is revenue, AI-driven pricing and sales strategies, sourcing. If you had an intelligent vendor selection mechanism and venue matching, wouldn't that be so much easier for you to be able to source? Personalization, we're going to touch on that, tailored attendee experiences where the right session and the right speaker is tailored to you because of your interest and because of what you want to learn more about. And then sponsorship, how does data-driven valuation and ROI ties to that? I think a lot of people think of AI as a trend, but the way I see it is no longer a trend, nor was it a trend. It's a future disruptor because it can be today's business acceleration if wanting to be in business is and staying in business is one of your goals. And I'm pretty sure everybody thinks that that should be one of the goals. All right, so we covered that. My slides, they're jumping a little bit. Okay. But with that, there's also a slew of challenges, right? Well, also opportunities. We have to look at it like this coin that has two facets. There's the challenges and then there's opportunities. And a lot of times we ask, each other like, so how are you using AI? So today, actually, I want to change that question and shift the focus to what challenge is AI able to help you in your role, and what better insights and data do you have that you can help AI to give you that faster decision making and help you solve those challenges better. So if you're a planner and a marketer, then if you're looking to maybe predict attendee trends and personalize their experiences, what type of data do you have that can help you with it? If you're a supplier, you're maybe thinking, well, I gotta optimize my labor, I gotta source equipment, I gotta manage all these real-time changes. What data do you have to do all of that? Hotels and venues, they might be looking, well, I would love to anticipate group business demand and be able to improve my pricing strategies based on room blocks and whatnot. And then DMCs, CVBs, DMOs, they can look at, well, I would love to see what are some of the high value event organizers that I can bring to my destination to increase the bookings and have a greater tourism impact and have the right partnerships in place, right? Because AI is not just an add-on, it's a tool for solving this type of challenges and this type of opportunities, but at the same time, like I said, it's two sides of the same coin. So, what is AI? Because I've been talking about it for 10 minutes, it feels like. And I'm going to give you the simplified definition. We're not going to go into anything like super technical. And I want to look at it from the context of events. And at its core, really, AI is the ability of machines to analyze patterns, to predict outcomes, and then make decisions based on data. And just like humans do, only much faster and more accurately than we sometimes have the ability to, because AI would use automation and data-driven intelligence to then help inform those decisions. So a few things that you would want to know how that is relevant to the event industry is, for example, machine learning I alluded to. That is what helps learn from past attendee behaviors, the mechanism that helps learn from past attendees' behavior to predict future trends, like think of session interest or ticket sales. Natural language processing is what actually got us into LLMs and OpenAI and all the fun chatbots that now we get to interact with, is what powers those chatbots for attendee engagement so that machine can talk to us like we humans talk to each other. Computer vision, it's a great tool beyond just facial authentication for check-ins and event security. I use it a lot these days, even simple tasks like snapping a picture of what's in my fridge and asking it to give me a recipe because I don't know what I'm gonna eat next and I need someone to help me. Predictive analytics, optimizing the pricing, the sponsorship, the ROI, and the personalized experiences that we have touched on. Now, I know there's a common fear, and it's something that I need to address every single time because people are afraid that, okay, so AI does so many good things, is it gonna replace us? And what is the future of us if AI will take over, right? But here's why I remain optimistic, because there's some irony, especially when it comes to big players, which, it goes to all in on AI doesn't necessarily mean that it's all over for humans. Yes, AI helps us do a lot more, a lot faster, conduct better, and still the human expertise still matters. And like the irony here being that companies, like AI companies, like Anthropic, for example, they ask job applicants not to use AI in their job applications. Or like, for example, Salesforce, hiring over 1,000 salespeople to sell their AI agent. So we still rely on a lot of the human expertise. I actually got to talk to Amanda. And Amanda, I want to give you a shout out because not only are you the sponsor of the lanyards, Walker and Clay, but I went a little hard on the stickers. I mean, I'm just saying, maybe. But I had this great conversation with Amanda about some of the ways in which she's using AI creatively to get her to do those things faster, like putting on marketing creative new products at the speed of the demand. It's not easy. And we were like bouncing back and forth all these ideas. And if you are curious of some of the ways, innovative ways that Amanda is using AI, you should have a conversation with her because she has some great ideas. And I was like, I can't believe you're doing this. This is amazing. There's hope for us. And yeah, we were learning a little bit too hard yesterday. But the key takeaway here is that AI can help us do more and be more focused on what an important task should be. And one way in which AI is at work these days is, for example, I mentioned dynamic pricing models for hotels. Just like airlines would use dynamic pricing, you can then have a tool that will help you optimize your pricing based on demand. And for sponsors, that could be something like lead scoring and engagement data and predictive analytics to then focus on the sponsors that will invest more, the right sponsor for the right events, and then follow up with those sponsors and make sure that those investments lead to higher ROI. And then attendee behavior insights, this is where networking, personalization, and tracking engagement across sessions, across networking, across activities throughout the entire event lifecycle. It really helps us event planners to then plan better events, but also forecast attendance for future events, because that way, especially with registration being so late many times, at least you know what to expect, and it gives you a bit of a heads up. All right, so what we're going to do next is we're going to touch on this data that I alluded to, and if AI could predict your highest value event leads, then what data points would be the most useful for you? Now, I think events are one of the richest database of so many data points that is available to us, and many times we're just sitting on all of those data sets and we don't realize how much richness there is there. So what I would like you to imagine as we're setting the context for this brainstorming challenge is if you were to generate new leads for your events, and before you even start outreach, right? You've got to then ask the right questions, and that question is going back to this data point. And I'm going to give you a few examples. For example, if you're an event planner, you're thinking, okay, so what kind of data do I need to identify attendees who will spend more, return next year, become sponsors, you name it. If you're a supplier thinking, well, I'd like to spot the planners who will bring repeat business, or maybe they will have those large budgets so we can plan this extravagant event. If you're a hotel or a venue, you're thinking, well, I would rather look at data that would help me predict which groups will actually book and maximize my room blocks. And then a DMC, a CVB would be, well, I would like to know which event organizers will come to our destination and generate the most local economic impact. And those are the data points that I would be interested to find out more of. So we're gonna do a warm-up exercise first because I wanna make sure that you get the chance to answer that question and you're all set for success. So the warm-up exercise is a fun one, okay? So what we're gonna do is there's a QR code for you and we're gonna scan it and you're gonna answer this one fun question that has nothing to do with what we just talked. But I figure, hey, why? It's fun, okay? So get your phone out. Let's make sure that this works. And you can answer, I think you can do 2 answers. I set it up for 2 for this poll. So let's see what we got. Joel, get your phone up. Is that working? Let's see. All right, all right. I see how everybody's thinking. Okay. I love it. Ooh, I can't believe there's actually so many of you with like, I'm so tired of responding to emails again and again the same way. Like, somebody help me. You know, it's so fun. So going back to my conversation with Amanda, we were talking about how yesterday, you know, after the Super Bowl, you still needed to send emails. And she was like, so imagine if you went to ChatGPT and you asked it to give you a few facts about the Super Bowl, especially if your client is in some of those states, and then you relate something fun with the Super Bowl, and then also you make it personable to that person so that you don't just come out of the blue, by the way, you know, I'm asking you for something. You actually make it fun, and you tie it into an event that somebody that would be in that location would care about. Those are just tiny little things and ways in which you could use AI to respond to emails exactly how you would want to. The virtual assistant that remembers everyone's coffee orders, okay, I see. I guess that one didn't land so well. That's okay. But the point of this being, you're all warmed up now, okay? So guess what? If you're all warmed up, that means we're ready for the actual exercise. And let's see, make sure I remove this. So what we're gonna do in this exercise, you actually are going to have 3 minutes. And during those 3 minutes, you can drop in the data points one at a time. You have multiple entries. And then we're going to look at those data points, and we're going to try to sort it. So as I alluded to earlier, if you're a planner, think early registration behavior, or maybe repeat attendance. If you're a supplier, you might be thinking multi-year clients, spending trends. If you're a hotel, you're thinking, well, room block utilization and booking conversion rates. If you're a DMC, you're looking at tourism impact and repeat city bookings. I mean, the choices are not limited to this. I'm just giving you some ideas. Actually, I want to hear from you. So make sure you scan that QR code, and I want to hear what would be some of the data points that you would think would be useful to AI to be able to then generate the impact, and help you generate the impact that you're looking after. So while we do that, let's play a little bit of music so it's not all so quiet. You have 3 minutes, and the time starts now. And I will be looking at those results. Let's see, make sure that, is it not enabled? Oh my, never mind. Okay, let's go back to the time starts now. Let's see. All right. It would be helpful to enable it next time, right? Okay, let's see what are some of the results that are coming in. I see how everybody's typing furiously. I love it. Okay. Revenue, profit, timing, schedule, food and beverage spend. It's okay to talk amongst yourself and find, you know, some other data points that might be useful. Contract growth, groups that pay hotel sales tax, amount of F&B spend, AV spend, repeat attendance, likely attendance, cost revenue. All of that is fantastic. Keep them going. Okay. Okay. You guys are not short of ideas. I love it. I love it. I'm definitely seeing a few key themes that are emerging, and we alluded to event, repeat attendance, then spending behavior, conversion rates. Any other big ones that I'm missing? Look at that. Love it. Okay. I think we could be sitting here all day and we'll have all the data points that now we can actually leverage to do something with. So you know what I'm going to do next? I'm going to take some of those data points and we're going to drop them into our ChatGPT. And by the way, this is one of the many private or not GPTs that I have built for my business and for other businesses. So what we're going to try to do is take all of this that we had, drop it in here, and let AI do the hard work for us. Let's see what we get. Okay, stay on this, stay on this. Okay. So here's some of the groupings from some of the data points that would turn into high-value event leads, and those are the main categories. Event details and budget, then we have attendee demographics and behavior, buyer and relationship data. I love those questions, great questions. Historical and market insights, growth and future potential, miscellaneous factors. How are we not solving the problems of the world with so much expertise in this space? You tell me. Like by now, we should have all of our challenges and problems solved because this is amazing. Thank you. All right, so we got that. Next one is gonna be, I wanna make sure that I'm enabling the next one so you all are ready for it, but we're not there yet, so don't peek at it. Okay. So what are some of the key takeaways, I guess, the learnings that from this exercise? And the reason why I wanted to do this exercise because this is a good exercise to actually do internally with your team and to look at what are some of the data points that we already have that we could use then to solve this challenge. And those challenges that you all mentioned and you brought it up, right? That is what you're trying to solve, but then you have to look strategically, what do we have? And how can we work with what we have, right? So if you were to predict then high-value event leads and you're an event planner, then you're looking at attend engagement, metrics, spending history, and sponsorship potential. And if I had a little bit more time, what I would do next, I would be taking that list from ChatGPT and create a brand new slide to update this one. And the fun part with this tool is that you can take all of those leads and drop it into this tool, which is Gamma, and then you would have your slide created so that you already input the content. All you have is then how it's gonna be organized on page. So this is some of the things that I already highlighted earlier because we want to make sure that we're using the data points that we already touched on, and different roles would be looking at it from different points of view. The same event, but we're looking at it from different angles. And the point of this being, in order to get a good output from AI, you do have to work with it. You have to give it detailed, relevant data that you already have, because otherwise, what's that saying? Garbage in, garbage out? It's real. So if your data is not organized, if you do not prime it properly, you're not gonna get the output that you're hoping for. So that's basically the key takeaway here. Now, next I'm gonna touch on a few things on how we use AI at MIW. And we use a variety of tools. We have event intelligent tools, we have proprietary tools, we have well-known tools, and all of that helps supercharge our decision making. Like, for example, we use event intelligence and Signal for taking the raw event data that we talked about, that we all sit on, and then that helps us turn all of that data into actionable insights so that we can look at revenue optimization and then attend engagement. And the reason why this tool works really well for us is because it instantly syncs data across multiple CRMs, about mobile apps, about from other BI tools that we have, and then that gives us the real-time accuracy that eliminates the batch processing delays that many times all of this data banking will generate. Another way is we use conversational AI for instant insights. Now, I have a lot of things to say about using chatbots for your event, and I would always say, like, for simple questions, simple frequently asked questions, it's okay. But always have the human behind that chatbot to support, because you don't want to end up with, like, my experience with Delta Airlines, where they're trying to solve my delay with a chatbot, and all I want to do is talk to a representative because my flight is about to leave and I need to be on that flight. I don't want to be chatting with a chatbot that doesn't understand what the time pressure element really is. So things like, what were the top attendee sessions? That's great insight for a chatbot to give you results. Or what marketing efforts really drove, the needle for this particular event. And then predictive analytics in action. This is another big one for us because really we have some proprietary tools here, but one tool that could also be used for this would be Event Intelligence, as I mentioned earlier, and that can recommend the room size for your event and the capacity adjustments and segment attendees based on past behavior, based on what they're interested in, and based on what their LinkedIn profile is about, and based on what other sessions have they attended, and what other events they have attended, and what other people have they connected with. And then really take personalization and networking, as Mike has touched on yesterday, to the next level, because we have all these tools at our hand. Might as well make use of them to give you that real-time support that you want. Now, I think the app was okay, right? But the app that we have now, like what session I should join because Anca is interested in this or that, right? Now imagine an app that can take it to the next level and then says, well, Anca cares about sustainability, but she also cares about well-being, and she cares about technology, and she cares about production. What are some sessions that maybe we should recommend so that she makes the best use of her time here at this event? All right, so this is where I'm going to pause for a second because I need to take a break, water break. But guess what? I rely heavily on feedback from all of you to make sure that what I talk about resonates. So in order for that to happen, I need your input and I need your feedback. So if you wouldn't mind taking a minute to really share with me what are some of the things that have resonated so far, what are some of the insights that you're taking back. And for this effort, I promise you that it's not gonna be in vain. Not only will make me a better presenter and have better slides next time, but I have an ebook, Mastering ChatGPT Prompting Frameworks, and I go over 20 frameworks, and they are with examples. Like if we're talking about zero shot or one shot, if we're talking about reasoning prompting frameworks, then you have examples to business and events so that it's practical. I really connect with people that give me also the example of what they're talking about, because that's kind of how I can then apply it to my own challenge. That's what that is. So if you took a minute, I appreciate it. It really helps me craft better presentations. And with that, we're gonna get into a couple of success stories. And those are real world examples of, one is a venue and one is a production company that I work with both. Now they're both based in Boise because I just happen to be in Boise. And that doesn't mean that I don't work with other clients outside of Boise. But one of the newer hotels in Boise, Hotel Renegade, opened recently, and they really wanted to make use of all the tools that they have available, including obviously AI, to drive revenue and bookings to their brand new hotel. So we've used AI then to predict which planners and which agencies would convert some of those site visits, because they're very busy, putting on a lot of site visits to make sure that the marketing was doing great with that. But which site visits actually turn into bookings? And then focus the outreach and the follow-ups to those leads, and that helped them boost their booking conversion and be successful, especially as a brand new hotel in Boise. I mean, how many of you are looking for a tier 2 destination? Maybe you should come to Boise, just saying. It's a great place, especially for the outdoors. Another success story is actually where I work with a local production company that does events all throughout US, and they were struggling to figure out how to first plan for the future. There's a thing as busy season and a dry season, especially for events, as you all know, but for production even more so. So we are looking at how can we follow up with the event planners that will really bring us those multi-year contracts and the potential of repeat business, and that helped us then really target our focus on those clients and those planners for that repeat contract that is beyond just 1 year, to make sure that they're successful and they're still in business. And I'm sure there's more case studies and more successes. All I'm trying to say here, AI is not just there to automate processes. It really can deliver tangible AI-powered revenue, insights, and benefits if you can align it with your goals and with your data. Okay. Next, we're going to go into something fun, because personalization is really dear to my heart, and we've talked about how AI can impact revenue, but really what's super exciting when you think about AI is the power of personalization. I alluded to a little earlier of how, even a simple event app can provide you with so much value if you can align your personalization goals with the app. And why do we care about that? Because that can enhance the attendee experience, which is great. But it's beyond just that. It's making interactions relevant. It's making networking relevant. Because why do people come to our events? Honestly, education is fine and it's great, but I come to events because I want to meet with other people. I want to have conversations. I want to learn from other people. I want to have the opportunity to be matched with the right people and sitting at the right table. So that's where personalization comes into play. And now I love those sustainable badges. I actually left mine at the table there. Thank you, Moonrise AV, for sponsoring them. But if you haven't met Eric, are you in the room with Trip Zero? Okay, if you haven't, maybe you should, because he has a lot of ideas about sustainability and events, and it was a very good conversation that we had. But what I would like to ask you, and what the next exercise is going to be about, is beyond badges, how can we personalize our events, and how can AI help us personalize the event beyond just the name badge, right? So a few ideas here based on specific roles. When you think about those personal emails that I gave an example of how Amanda would set up her campaigns and how you would make it personal, or how you can easily do a 2-minute research on someone to connect with them on a personal level. And then when you send that cold email, it's not so cold anymore because you actually send it to another human that you make a connection with, right? Matchmaking, content recommendation for our events, booth placements, product suggestions, exhibitor interactions. All of that ties into personalization. And when you talk about hotels and venues, guest preferences, room upgrades, food and beverage recommendations goes back to personalization. And DMC is the same way, and CVBs, targeted travel offers. And there's actually Illinois, it's a DMC that has really taken this to the next level. They created their own version of a chatbot, and what they did is they provide very personalized itineraries and experiences based on who the person that interacts with this chatbot is, and that is built upon their whole data set of things that you could do fun in Illinois. But it's not just the things that I can find on Google. It's tribal knowledge. It's things that you might not know about because there's so many local businesses. They have a different viewpoint or different experience, or locals that would think, well, that shouldn't be on the list because that's what you Google and find. But if you're local, this is the places you want to go to. This is the experiences that you want to have. So the next exercise that we're going to do, and it's going to follow the same pattern. I'm going to take a few minutes. You're going to QR code, only this time it's actually a word cloud. And I already see people putting their answers in. And we're going to be looking at everybody's responses in what other ways could we use AI to personalize the event experience, to curate content, to provide different type of experience for our attendees, but not just attendees, think beyond that. As I mentioned, you can look at it from different angles, right? If you're a DMC, if you're a venue, if you're a planner, if you're a marketer, you might be looking at email campaigns, you might be looking at matchmaking, but you might also be looking at other things like preferences, upgrades, destination experiences, offers, you name it. All right, so let's see what we got. Let's go here really quick. Okay. Personalized schedules, shares the win. Yes, welcome gifts, activations, types of attendees, crowd management. Love using the app. People will be, I'm not sure where that's going. That was left. But I love all of these ideas. And you know how, because this is a word cloud, what it comes down to is going back to the personalized schedule, right? Like, wouldn't it be nice to go to an event like IMAX, and instead of like trying to figure out what session should I attend, there's so many, I mean, packed across, 4 days. And I also don't want to have, FOMO, fear of missing out, and maybe I should be in this room or that room. But if I could somehow use or leverage AI to help me figure out what is more aligned with not just my present goals, but also my future goals, that to me is a win. Well, look at all of your guys' answers. I love it. Thank you. I feel like I need some confetti to throw on the screen to just celebrate. I love it. Okay. Let's see. So we obviously all agreed that personalized schedules are important. I can see a lot of you that have actually engaged. And by the fact that it's highlighted is because it popped out as to be the most common answer. Okay, so why does this matter? As I said earlier, better engagement, it means higher engagement and retention, but also smarter personalization means increased sales and ROI. And that's why personalization, yes, it sounds like a buzzword, but really it's what gets great events and sets them apart. And if you're looking to scale, if you're looking to have more precision, if you're looking to look at the bottom line and figure out how you can achieve higher revenue, then this is some of the ways in which you could do that. And I'm gonna try to go through a little faster because we're coming towards the end and I don't wanna miss the last part. Some of the tips for AI-driven personalization, this is where I'm going to that data. Use the data that you already have. You already have so much data on attendees, past attendance, preferences, interactions. Use it. Don't just sit on it. Make sure that if you are to use a tool, you are looking at all its capabilities, and if there's a way in which smart matchmaking is possible that can suggest those sessions and sponsors and networking opportunities, then you use that tool. And then real-time personalization is a real thing where you can use AI to track live engagement, sessions, drop-offs, booths visits, and then make some recommendations like through pop-up notifications and other ways in which you can increase that experience. All right, so some of the tools for event personalization, this is where I'm gonna give a simple and a more advanced solution. I alluded to private GPTs. Now, if you don't have a private GPT just personally for yourself to be able to craft those personalized emails, you need to set one up for yourself. It's easy, I promise you. It's not complicated. This is not the session to go into how to do it. But like, for example, wellness at events, it's a custom GPT, AV production, fit for events, podcast script. Those are very custom GPTs that I have created for different things, and it has different instructions, and you can do that yourself to customize it and give you the kind of instruction that is super personalized to you and your outcome you're looking for. And if you're using one for, say, for example, to train it on your data, then you could do cross-check rooming lists to predict the upgrades or the layout optimization that are necessary. You could then answer the attendee and the exhibitor questions in real time that is really fed on the data that you already have, historical data. And then you could assist that sponsor matchmaking by referencing past engagement data and all that. So this is the simple AI solution. It's low cost, it has fast implementation, and immediate attendee engagement improvements. And it does not take a PhD to build one for yourself. I promise you it's easy. I have actually tutorials on how to do this. I don't have the time to go into it, obviously, but if you're curious, connect with me and I'll give you the resource because it's just a 2-3 step process. It's not complicated. Now, the advanced AI tools for personalization, this is where it's gonna cost you some money, and this is where it's gonna be an investment because it goes into more than just the chatbot, right? You're looking at way more interconnected integrations to make sure that you can then track engagement, analyze behavior, and provide a real-time data insight that would make this possible. Signal is a great example of that because it really syncs event data across a lot of platforms, and then it does enable you with that real-time session recommendation that you can ask it, like, I see people dropping off from this session. Can you tell me why, or what are some ways in which we can improve this? Domo is another analytical dashboard for events that can really merge multiple CRMs, and then it can give you forecasting for ticketing and surveys and whatnot, which goes into the deeper attendee insights and predictive analytics. And then Steven's personalization at scale, I'm still looking forward to that because I know it's on the roadmap, and this is where they're looking to elevate the app that we have to really tailor the content to each one of us in a very personalized manner and suggest the type of sessions that we should be going to, maybe just for curiosity. So those are just some of the advanced tools. Like I said, this is something that would probably take some investment up front. They're not your free tools. And let me give you a tip here, a pro tip. If you're trying any AI tool out there, if it's free, you're paying with your data. So be wary of how many of those AI tools you sign up for. And then another tip, if you're signing up for any AI tool, don't sign up with your corporate email. Set up an email that's just like your, I don't know, I have one for mailer list and other offers that I sign up for, because you don't want that corporate account to be compromised because you sign up for this tool that you thought it was great. So just 2 tips here, those are free. All right, last point. I promise you this is the end. Can I trust AI with my data, right? This goes into a lot of the good questions that we should ask ourselves, because AI is only as good as the safeguards that surround it. And some of the concerns are obviously privacy concerns. How can I protect my attendee data and biases? How can I protect myself from AI biases? And compliance. How can I make sure that I am compliant, especially if you work in an industry that is very strong on GDPR and other compliance segments? All right, so here's a couple of best practices that I divided in 2 categories. One is for planners and suppliers, and the other one would be for venues and DMCs and CVOs. And this is something that it's a best practice for anyone and everyone, all right? So I'm not gonna go line by line. If you would like the slides, like I said, you can get them from me once you scan that QR code earlier. But really, those are common sense best practices that we should all employ, not just to keep our data safe, but to keep ourselves safe and also to not lose trust with our clients and with our vendors. And then if you are a venue and a DMC, CVB, CMO, whatever category you fit in, those are some specific AI best practices for this particular role, because it ties more into the type of data that you would have access to and how you would use that data to not just generate revenue, but also, personalize and make sure that how you store it is important. All of that ties into those best practices. And this is built on AI best practices and policy that we use internally at MIW, and also just common sense that we need to be aware of. And with that, I'm gonna wrap it up. What really wanted to leave you with is AI can definitely improve that decision making, but human expertise is still important. Yes, we can have AI-powered insights, and yes, we can make data-driven decisions, and yes, we can improve ROI, but at the end, all in on AI doesn't mean it's all over for humans. And my key takeaways is pick one strategy and just test it, and pick one AI-driven solution and strategy, and just go with that and see where it takes you. Too many people try to use too many tools. Just pick one and see if that works for you. Start small and then scale from there. Pilot a project, pilot a measure, and see the impact of that. And then don't forget the human touch. It really is important to integrate our human and our domain expertise into anything that we do, and those relationships that we form, that will be what carries us into the future. And with that, this is the end of it. The last bit is AI isn't the future, it's already here. And the question isn't if you're gonna use it or not, it's how strategically you're going to integrate it. And because we're out of time, I knew we were gonna get here. I do have the Q&A question poll that's still available. I wanna make sure that I enable it, so that if you do have questions, I see there's 2 questions. I'm sorry I didn't get to it, but I would like to get back to you. And I'll do a follow-up on LinkedIn for this section. And if you wanna connect with me and maybe give me your feedback on what is one of the things that you took away and one of the measures or one of the projects you plan to use AI for, let's connect on LinkedIn. You have my QR code to connect with me on LinkedIn, or that's my URL. And with that, thank you, Mark.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anca. That was wonderful. It's scary, also.